If you somehow missed the news, Wizards has now released a statement claiming that they're going to back off of OGL 1.0A and release the 5th edition SRD under Creative Commons. This is a huge win for the community, and we have every right and every reason to celebrate. I, for one, am super excited that my favorite edition of Dungeons & Dragons is not getting locked behind some super crappy OGL. But what does this mean for the D&D brand moving forward? Let's start with the good news. Companies like EN Publishing can move forward with products like Level Up Advanced 5th Edition without any major modifications. At this point, they could literally just swap out the OGL for the Creative Commons attribution and be done with it. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that, but it's very minimal in comparison to having to go back and try to scrub all of their old content for OGL terminology and word usage and all that mess. Also, other 5e compatible products, such as those produced by Kobold Press and those that have come out through Kickstarter and are currently in Kickstarter, can continue to be useful moving forward. And actually, because this was released under Creative Commons, Wizards and Hasbro have given up virtually all of their control over 5th edition in general, which means all those 5e materials are just a lot safer now. All of these outcomes are awesome, but there are still some unknowns. There are still some questions that have been left unanswered. I certainly don't have answers to all of them, but I do have some predictions, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. First big question, will there be any real change in leadership or the goals of the company? I don't actually think so, and I think they still see us as an under-monetized fan base. In the short term, their goals are going to be to try to repair the damage that they've done through this whole debacle. But in the long term, I think their goals are still going to be to unlock the wallets of all the player base in addition to just the Dungeon Masters. Now, in general, I don't really have much problem with that. I understand as an entrepreneur that you want to make a product and find out ways to sell it. Like, that part makes sense. But I also wonder if they're going to proceed with the strategy of creating a walled garden VTT experience where they attempt to stifle all the competition and keep everybody within the garden that they control. The interesting bit, in my opinion, is that releasing 5e under Creative Commons really narrowed down their options in terms of what tools and strategies they can use to achieve that outcome. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if I was missing some ideas here, but assuming that's still their end goal, I really only see two ways that they can get there. The first option, the better of the two in my opinion, is for them to continue on the same path they were on with OneD&D's design, not with the mess around the OGL, but the actual design of the system, and keep it more or less backwards compatible so they can still rely on older book sales and not make this transition period between 5e and OneD&D essentially a lame duck session of the Dungeons & Dragons world. If they do that and they keep OneD&D more or less backwards compatible, then they'll still be competing directly with third-party publishers. They have a lot of inherent advantages in that ballgame. It's not a ballgame. In that competitive market, but brand recognition and bank accounts only go so far when you've ruined your reputation over the last month or so. So what I think they'll have to do with OneD&D is prove to the community that they can release content that is head and shoulders above what third-party content producers like Kobold Press are already releasing. If they take this route, this is a net gain for everyone. Third-party publishers get to continue making third-party content for the game that we all know and love, and Wizards is creating content that makes us want to spend our money on their products. But I don't know if they'll actually go that route. They do have a second option, and that is to release OneD&D when it comes out under a new OGL. Let's call it 1.3, but make it a lot less backwards compatible so that the products that third-party creators are publishing that are compatible with 5e will now no longer be compatible with OneD&D. If this is the case, they can keep a lot of the draconian wording in 1.3, but still point back to releasing 5e under Creative Commons as their one good deed that they did for the community and claim to be the good guys again. This is really risky too, because OneD&D will have to be significantly better than 5e for a lot of us to make the jump, especially given the poor reputation that they've rightfully earned recently. Because at this point we are very capable of just sticking with 5e, or some 5e clone like Level Up, for example, or perhaps the Black Flag project, which I'm still secretly hoping is going to be 5e compatible. we'll see how it goes. Either way, what do you think? Where do you think this is all going to go? How do you think D&D is going to look when OneD&D hits the scene in 2024?